The filibuster is standing between the Democrats, their voters, all the promises they made, and there's still enough Democrats who will not support overriding it to actually do that. But maybe steadily, slowly, some might be changing their minds. Today, Senator Tina Smith tweeted, "I've made up my mind. We need to move this country forward, and that's why I've decided to come out in support of eliminating the filibuster." She went on to say in a Facebook post, we're just gonna read a bit of it, but the entire thing is available. "I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, and to be honest, I started out believing we should keep the filibuster. Without it, I reasoned, what would stop a conservative president in Congress from doing terrible damage to women's healthcare, voting rights, and civil rights? But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that the filibuster has long been the enemy of progress. In fact, it's been a highly effective tool to thwart the will of the voters. What the filibuster does is allow a minority of senators to just say no to any idea they don't like. They don't have to negotiate because they can stop anything." And that is, I think, so seemingly obviously true that I understand some Democrats who want to keep it just because then they don't have to ever vote on anything controversial. And they don't have to actually deliver for their promises in ways that might infuriate their donors. But there are two in particular, Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, that say, no, it's a long-standing tradition. It leads to bipartisanship. It's just a part of our institution. And I just think that is, at best, an old-timey, myth-ridden misconception of what it ever was, but certainly what it is now. And it's good to see some people willing to admit that they have changed their mind.
Yeah, I agree with certain pieces of that statement in terms of how filibusters have been used versus how maybe they were originally envisioned. But filibusters in general, I mean, I'm for revisiting any kind of filibuster reform, but as far as I know, I mean, this has been talked about for a while. I mean, maybe not as like publicly and directly as this, but if even just in the last 10, 15 years, like what filibusters have effectively thwarted in terms of like gun control legislation, through all of the many different platforms that were cited in that statement. I think that's accurate, and I think it's long overdue to be revisited in terms of how filibusters are actually used in political discourse versus how they were designed.
So, couple of things about this. Number one, I'm happy about the development. Great, we'll take it. Okay, and I love to give credit where credit is due, and if she votes the right way in time, it'll make a big difference. So I'm moving past her because mission accomplished on that, okay? Now let's talk about the filibuster in general. So number one, I told you on the show yesterday what I think the Democrats are gonna do. Half of HR 1 is almost a must pass for the Democratic Party. It encourages more voting, it's great policy. It's true, it's wonderful, it's progressive, it's pro-democratic, not Democratic Party, but democracy itself. Republicans can outvote us if they've got more access to voting as well. It doesn't discriminate, but generally when more people vote, Democrats tend to win. That's why Republicans are in a panic over it. So when Joe Biden says he's going to reach out to Republicans to tinker with it, that makes no sense at all. All the Republicans are 100% opposed to it. So, but Democrats need half of that bill. The other half is wonderful anti-corruption measures. And there's no way the Democratic Party is gonna pass them. No way. Most of the Democratic Party agrees completely with the Republican Party on the corruption part. They love the money in politics. They can't wait to work as lobbyists themselves. They're not gonna. So the trick they're gonna do is they're gonna say, "Oh, we got to negotiate with the Republicans and Joe Manchin, wink. So we're gonna take out all the anti-corruption measures and leave the voting rights part in." Now, don't get me wrong. Again, the voting rights part is great. Okay, I want them to pass that. But yes, it's also a Democratic trick. And then since they need to pass it in, there's no way they can pass it through reconciliation because it doesn't have anything to do with the budget. They're forced to kill the filibuster. So that way they go, okay, good. I got rid of the anti-corruption stuff I never believed in. We got past the $15 minimum wage, which we didn't want to do. But this doesn't hurt corporations at all. So they've given us a green light to do it. And so we'll kill the filibuster and pass half of HR 1. Okay, so that is my best guess as to how they're gonna do it. But they're gonna drag out this melodrama so that it is nearly the last thing they do. So that They cannot pass any progressive priorities. And I'm telling you all this ahead of time. I'm laying out 2 years of what's going to happen ahead of time, okay? If progressives don't step in and somehow alter the timeline, okay? Which is definitely possible, but this is their plan. And so then that way, they'll have passed no progressive priorities, and then they'll lose the Senate, and the Republicans will be handed the gift of having no filibuster. So that, and why do I say that? Why do I make that prediction? These are all based in facts and history. Harry Reid killed a portion of the filibuster right before the Democrats lost their majority in the Senate. And I remember screaming on air, why didn't you do it earlier to confirm all the judges? Now that you can't confirm all those judges, you're doing it the last second when the Republicans are favored to win in the next election. Why the hell would you give them that gift? Because the point is to help the Republicans because they're more pro-corporations. Now, look, you'll think that last part you might find to be conspiratorial, but the bottom line is it doesn't matter. They all work for corporations. That is what explains what otherwise seems inexplicable. Because I know I've gone on too long and I want Koa to jump in, but the bottom line is if you wanted to pass these bills, the ones that the Democratic Party said they were in favor of, the one that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris ran on, all those policies, you would get rid of the filibuster immediately. You would not wait until it's too late to pass any of them. And my guess is that is exactly the plan of the Democratic Party.
My only piece to add there would be in thinking about certain pieces of what Cenk just said, and then just coming off of talking about cinema, is that I find a pattern that is very dangerous in like exactly these conversations that we're having is when corporations try and tell us our history or try and tell us like origin stories of rights or politics or history or marginalized people or anything, and that kind of like just how Cenk pointed out, like they have such deeply different interests, built by profit. And so they have to build, it's marketing. They just have to build like narratives with like a protagonist, that's very like, binary, good and bad. And then, that is sort of shepherded in an effort to like sell things or, lobbies or, campaigns or whatever. And so a general piece that I have found to be, helpful in like not just realms like this, but also like broadly in culture is just deciding very early in my life that corporations would not tell me history. Because they're always going to have like a vested interest in a certain narrative to be able to sell something.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.